Let's see here. Okay, so we got a school shooter, and we've got Jesse Cox, and then we've got Jimmy Neutron's friend or whatever he was from Jimmy Neutron, and then we've got some other nerd and an apple. Right. Welcome to Gen 8. I think this is Gen 8. Yeah, okay. Now, actually, Applin, I'm kind of torn about. I like the idea of a apple worm that turned, like, the apple pie look is actually kind of cool. Yeah, the apple pie look is actually kind of cool. But it doesn't look like a Pokemon. It looks like, I don't know, like a novelty magic card or something, something else entirely. I like the idea of like a squirrel that has like a pouch full of like thousands of seeds in it. It's like a Gatling gun, but wasn't there a Lodent or something? Am I remembering that name right? But that isn't it. This Squovit thing is fine, I guess, but it's just a squirrel. And if I got rid of Greedlent, I don't think, like if look, if maybe there'll be an elemental squirrel thing, and that electric Pikachu squirrel can be one of them. This can evolve. This is the new Eevee of the squirrel Eevee. So Rookidee, Corvisquire, and Corviknight. This is actually a really nice render of Corvisquire. I generally haven't liked the images I've seen of it, but I really like Rookidee and Corviknight. I think they are both quite good. And again, it's the awkward middle one that throws me off. But this one looks quite a bit better. And I like the idea of it has to become a squire at some point. And a chickadee called Rookidee is fun, because otherwise I'd say, okay, call this one Corvisquire, but this is meant to be like a little like a great tit or something. And it's neat that it's there. And then the Corviknight is pretty cool. It's a bit too like new generation of Pokemon. Like, this is the thing they put in the first episode of the new season to rope you in and say, hey, this region's different from the others, but it is still kind of cool. It's a bit far off. So this was I guess this was the game that was the first one on the Switch, if I recall correctly. So then we have another pair of thieving things. Instead of Purloin and whatever that other cat was called, it's a pair of foxes with masks. And again, these don't feel like Pokemon exactly. This is like all of these Pokemon are kind of like, it's not even a fan game of Pokemon, because fans wouldn't come up with these. It's more like a Pokemon-like was made, like Koromon or something had all these Pokemon. Because it doesn't really feel, you compare Corviknight to like a Bulbasaur or something, and it's like a totally different game. The progression has been slow enough that it's hard to tell when they're not side by side, especially after the Ultramon. Anything seems reasonable after those, but because you see these and you're like, okay, yeah, that's not too far off, but these are so far from being Pokemon at this point. So yeah, Corviknight might actually be on thin ice, but I've been so burnt out on the others that he seems reasonable by comparison. So we've got Dottler and Orbeetle, which, again, this is just a dude wearing a costume, and it's kind of cute, I guess. Doesn't really stand on its own, but I guess it can stay for now. It's like a little, I don't know what that's meant to be. Like, it looks like a, what are those called? A duodecadron? I don't know why. There's probably some bug or egg or something that looks like that, but yeah. Okay, so then we have a bouquet of flowers, which is kind of neat, but I don't know why it has the little hands. Like, I just prefer, just give me a good old-fashioned Weeping Bell or something. Don't need that. Eldegoss looks fine, but they look like they need a after. Like, this is the seed of this flower, I assume. Like, this is a cotton pluff or something. But yeah, they need a tree or another stage or swap the order or something. I think this needs to be a 3-stage Pokemon. And this looks very similar to, my mind has been fried, but like those grass Pokemon we saw much earlier. Well, like a Cottony, I guess. It could kind of fit in with the Cottony and the Lilligant even somewhere in there. Put it between Petal and Lilligant. But I was actually thinking of even earlier. It could be like a Badu as well. Like, it could be the middle stage in there. It could fit with a lot of other Pokemon, but it doesn't. I don't think it works with that flower exactly. That probably is some botanist out there that'd be saying that is exactly the flower it comes from. like a puffball like that. But yeah, like a Jumpluff. It feels redundant if Jumpluff exists, because Jumpluff actually looks like a Pokemon. Yeah, look at these. I've gotten to the point where, is this second generation? Maybe this is second generation, but I've gotten to the point where second or third generation feels like proper Pokemon at this point. Yeah, I guess it's second generation. And they actually look like Pokemon. Even though back when second generation came out, I thought so many of them were weird and I didn't like them. But they've strayed so far from Arceus at this point. Even the existence of Arceus, I have a few problems with. It's a little strange to, like, the argument of who's the first Pokemon. It was always a fun joke, right? Is the first Pokemon Bulbasaur? Is it Mew, or is it Rhydon? But now, because Rhydon was the first one they ever invented. But now it's now did God come first? And it turns into a philosophical debate. Okay, but yeah, Eldegoss can stay for now. But this is starting to feel like a different game series. Okay, Wooloo, I like. Again, I'm gonna have to judge these things sort of as an evolution of Pokemon, ironically, rather than straight up Pokemon for now. Once we condense the list down a bit, it'll be easier to compare them. But Eldegoss at this point, relative to the Greedent and the Orbeetle, is a decent Pokemon. Wooloo is great. I quite like it. In the trailers where you saw them rolling the herds around, that was quite fun. Dubwool, it's fine. It's a bit weird because Dubwool looks more like a goat, but Wooloo is fairly clearly meant to be a sheep. So, like, I think Dubwool, I think Dubwool could be improved if it was, and I'm sure that Dubwool is actually based on a proper animal, but as these things tend to be. But I think based on the sheep where I live, give this guy sheep horns, and suddenly a lot more fitting. And I don't know what the tusks are about, but sure, they can stay. Yeah, that looks a lot better already, in my opinion. Of course, like I said, it's about my personal taste, not about fixing the art of very talented artists who made all these things. And could do a lot better than this weird spider pseudopuffs I've shoved into its head. But I'm actually curious about Eldegoss, though, if it's attached to other Pokemon. Because it might be like the third generation where they just inserted a bunch of Pokemon into others. No, it doesn't appear to be. It's the only known Pokemon that can have Cotton Down as an ability, which whenever it's hit by a damaging move, all other Pokemon lose 1 speed stage. Wow. If they hit them with a multi-strike, each hit activates this ability. That's horrifying. And what does Regenerator do? If they switch out, they restore 33% of their HP. Wow. That's pretty cool. And there's a few Pokemon that have this ability. All the Slowbros, Tangela, Corsola, Ho-Oh, Tangrowth, that weird amoeba thing. Fungoose does that? Who knew? Oh, these guys do it as well. And can they... Yeah, it doesn't seem to suggest that there's a limit, so it looks like they could heal full up from that. I've never understood hidden abilities. I don't know what first, second hidden is, because it only shows like 1 ability per Pokemon, right? So I don't know if they have one of these two and then this is always there, or you sometimes get a hidden ability. Maybe Bulbapeed would be a hidden ability. It's a rare ability Pokemon do not normally have access to. Introduced Gen 5. Like I said, I tapped out by around Gen 3. There's special encounter methods where the Pokemon can have a hidden ability. Certain event Pokemon and special in-game Pokemon also have a hidden ability. It replaces the normal ability. So they only have the one still. You can breed for hidden abilities. An ability patch can be used to change a Pokemon's ability from a normal ability slot to a hidden ability slot. Right. Hidden Lens doubles the damage done by moves which are not very effective. Tinted Lens, which is a hidden ability of Butterfree. Huh. How about that? Okay, Dreadnought. Dreadnought looks pretty cool, actually. It's a shame he doesn't have a lower evolution. But I think he stands alone. Yamper and Boltund, again, we've got... This looks like a DreamWorks main character. Like from... wasn't there a movie called Bolt that looked very similar to this? But yeah, it's fine. It's an electric dog, but it's not offensive compared to most of these other Pokemon, I guess. That's the best I can say. Roly-Coly, Carcoal, and Colossal, I actually have a bit of a weird opinion on. Because I didn't like how Colossal looked at first. I guess he looks like a turtle sort of here. Because I like I said, I have a bias against the Pokemon standing on their hind legs. But he has a really cool ability where, because he's a big coal scuttle, right? Or Carcoal is for sure. But if he's hit with a fire move, his speed increases, which I think is really cool. And I think he might also be immune to fire damage. Colossal. Oh, and he can Gigantamax, which looks bad. Looks pretty bad. That's a shame. So Steam Engine is the ability. I guess you can have multiple. Right, Steam Engine, if they're hit by a fire or water type move, its speed stat maxes out. Basically, it goes up by 6. And yeah, I guess it doesn't reduce the damage, but that's pretty cool. You hit them with water and steam bursts up. That's really cool. Yeah, I like Colossal. It's very neat. It's like a fire type that can actually do pretty good against water types. Silicobra, I like the idea of a ground snake, but why does it look like this? It looks ill. And this one looks like a mess. Cramorant, I guess is fine. It's just a fly in water. We've seen a lot, like Pelipper exists. You know what? Well, no, it can stay. Fine, it can stay for now. Now we've got a Barracuda and another Barracuda. This one's an Aracuda and this one's a Barrascuda. Seems kind of uninspired, but, you know, there's nothing horribly off about it. Electric Poison is a really cool typing, but whatever this thing is, I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. Toxtricity, kind of it's a name. Like, what animal is this meant to be? What is, like, this is too much of an animal, and this is not enough of an animal here. And it's a shame, because Electric Poison's a really neat idea. That seems really hard to do. They probably came up with the typing first, and then they had to rack their brains to actually get something that looked vaguely like what they were going for. But then just creating another dude, there's so many. I think it's the laziest thing Pokemon does. They're like, okay, we'll just create a guy, and like they're like Batman villains, you know, like Blockbuster or something. It's just, we'll create a guy, and then we will shove the elements on top of him and call it a day. It's just a superhero that looks freaky. Doing better than the previous generation, though, which isn't saying much. But it's something. Okay, you're gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Is that a Meowth evolution? It has the same weird. It looks like a Nemes, like a Sphinx would wear. It's a Galarian Meowth. Okay. What is a Galarian Meowth? What are these things? So are Alolan Pokemon not count? Is there 1,025 Pokemon not counting Galarian and Alolan and Hatsuin and all that types? Wow. There's so many Pokemon. So 1,025 doesn't even cover all the Pokemon. Is that what you're saying? And then there's all the variant forms of each Pokemon. Like, how many Pokemon are there actually? Like 2,000? This is crazy. Okay, so it looks like these Galarians. What is the Galar region even? It's from Sword and Shield. I didn't know Sword and Shield had variants in it. I think variants were a great idea. You can take your most popular Pokemon from the previous generations, give them a new spin, everyone's happy. You don't have to think as hard. Everyone loves their old favorites. It's a win-win. This one's a bit weird, but I like the idea of Meowth having an evolution that isn't Persian, so I can say for now. Cursula seems great, like a ghost coral. That's basically what a coral is when it dies, so I think that's really cool. Surfetched. Sure. Is that evolution or one of these Galarian things, or what's the deal with a Surfetched? If you get 3 critical hits in a single battle, that's really cool. I really like that. And now, unfortunately, it looks like you do need a Galarian Farfetch'd to do it, which just has a bigger leak and looks angry. But I love the idea. There's a couple Pokemon that have really non-standard ways of evolving that don't really make sense, which I think are pretty cool. Mr. Rhyme. This is interesting. This is neat because, you know how I talked about before Mr. Mime, if he was a plant, I would be a lot more into it. Now, this is clearly like not a human. This is a creature with a growth on its top of its head that looks like a human head, but it's not. Probably. That's probably what's going on, unless it just has two faces. But this is more what I think a Mr. Mime should be like. But the cane, I think, goes a bit too far in the shoes, and it goes a bit too far, but it's a much better step in that direction. Runer Rigus, like Rigus, like Rictus or Rigor Mortis, but combined? I'm not sure. But very similar to the Cofagris before. I wonder if it's meant to be related. They really went for a lot of... I guess this is the Galarian version. Okay, so this is a Galarian Yamask. So you take this thing and you get instead of a Cofagris, you get... So the Galarians evolve into completely different Pokemon rather than evolving into the Galarian... Like, this isn't Galarian Persian. This is something completely different. That's kind of a neat idea. I like that. Milcery and Alcremie. I believe there's... Alcremie, like alchemy, that's good. I believe there's like 7 variants. There is a number I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 variants, which is based on the time of day, the length of the spin, clockwise or counterclockwise, and that's it. Not based on what berry you're holding or anything. And there they all are. I think that's really fun. It's a bit weird that it's ice cream. There's way too many ice cream Pokemon, but I love the non-standard evolutionary paths, so I'm a fan. Phalanx. I feel like it should be bug type, but I like it. It actually feels kind of Pokemon-y. It's like a bunch of little guys forming a centipede, or a phalanx. And it looks like a phalanx, but that doesn't mean it is a phalanx. It's not like the Mr. Mime where it is just a dude. This is something humans looked at and said, hey, that reminds me of the old phalanxes, which it does raise a question about the history of the Pokemon world. But yeah, I think it's cool. Pincurchin. So it's an urchin. It's not a water type, though, which is interesting. It's electric type, sea urchin, pincushion. It's fine. A Snom and Frostmoth. Another. Yeah, that's decent bug Pokemon. We've got a decent run here. Stonejourner, I don't think so. That looks way too much like a megalith, and not in an interesting way. I don't know. If they got rid of the eyes or put them on either one of these, or I don't know how you'd make it work, but it's not working for me. Yeah, same with a penguin with an ice box or a TV for a head or something, an ice cube, obviously, but. And no, you're just a person. You look like you're probably a Galarian baby of Morpeko. Learning so much here. You are not actually related to the Pokemon that you look almost identical to. If you use Hunger Switch, you become electric type. If you become hangry, really hangry. All right, I was kind of for it, but now it's on thin ice. Kerfunt to Copperja, and a Steel Elephant. I like it. That kind of works. I don't know what's going on with these things. The Zolts. They have these tiny little bodies stuck on much bigger... Are you meant to combine them with a different Pokemon? Is that it? Like, they're meant to... Dracozolt... Are they meant... Oh, they're actually a hybrid. They combined a bird and a drake. And this is the same thing as the back end with this is a fish and a drake. So they're just horrible, ill-formed hybrids. The problem with this kind of thing is it kind of makes for a good story Pokemon, but you can't introduce like 6 of these every generation. This is like you get a Porygon and a Mewtwo in one generation, and then maybe you have to leave it for another generation, and then you can get another weird mad science Pokemon, but you can't just have like 6 every generation.
Bees been seen being unclean, but better be seen than hide too easy. Being unfeeling, things foreseen, all of things must die.
And they should be unique. Maybe they are unique, but yeah, they probably are kind of like the hybrid, like the fossil Pokemon, but yeah. Duraludon, that's just a Digimon. This is just a Digimon. Dreepy, Dracoloak, and Dragapult. That's actually creative and interesting. You get the ammo is the old previous generation, and it's kind of like a Kangaskhan type thing, but I like that. Zacian and Zamazenta. don't know what Pokemon's obsession with fighting Pokemon is, but I guess because it's a fighting game. They're fine, I guess. They're fine. They're a bit over designed. They're a bit much. They're more like a teenage girl's young adult novel companion creature you see on the cover of the book or something like that. But compared to the others, they're fine. There's not many Pokemon this generation, is there? Which is probably for the best, if this is what they can come up with. Okay, so Eternatus, again, it's like, it's a fine design. It'd be cool in some JRPG, I'm sure, but it's not very Pokemon at that point. It's like some sort of horrible elder god. I said I'm a sucker for the Regigigas and all the... I think they have a name collectively. They're called the Giants, I think, or something like that. But these don't really follow the theme as much. I'll keep them just because they joined the other guys, but they're really pushing it. Now Regieleki, I think, is the fastest Pokemon there is, which also feels kind of weird. I feel like... Well, I think Rayquaza should be the fastest Pokemon, but apparently it's the highest damage dragon and not much else. But Rayquaza was the first Pokemon I ever knew that could learn extreme speed, which to me suggests it's very fast. Yeah. Okay, why are there a bunch of deer over here? What happened? It's like a bunch of previous Pokemon get a new form right at the end. This is another one of those weird Buddhist gods. Overquill, you know, I'm kind of into that idea. Let's just take the Quillfish and make it something. Glastrier, what's going on here? Is this a weird Ponyta? It can be fused with a Calyrex, which is a weird deer with long legs, to become the Ice Rider Calyrex. See, if you find yourself ever making something like this in your monster collecting, fighting, battling game based on beetle fighting, where two beetles try to push each other off of a log, you know you've run out of ideas and you should just stop. What is that? It makes me retroactively dislike these, even though they have a kind of neat design. Again, they're I don't know, they're like Black Beauty meets Fantasy World, something like that. But now the weird deer. This looks neat. What's its deal? Is it related to the other one? What's your deal? It evolves from a Stantler if you use Size Shield Bash in the Agile style 20 times. I don't know what styles are. Agile style reduces a move's power and effects, but increases the action's speed. Also, Pokemon Legends Arceus had different stances your Pokemon could take, and also costs more PP. You can master a move by leveling up. So they get better at moves. That's a neat idea. Again, Pokemon has a lot of cool ideas, but I think sometimes less is more. Like, I guess you gotta make mistakes in order to push new ground. You gotta... But, come on, this didn't... The concept artist shows you this and you say, okay, you know, it's worth a shot. Let's find something else. This wasn't it. This wasn't it on so many levels. So Cleaver, we learned, was alternative evolution for Scyther. Ursaluna, that's just a normal Ursaluna. What's going on there? Ursaluna is from... Why do I know about Ursaluna then? It evolves from Ursaring. Oh, I see. When exposed to a peat block during a full moon. Okay, so I assume that this section is Pokemon that are really hard to get, and including these as well, I assume. Okay, you know, bears can go up on their hind legs, and at a blood moon in Kitakami. What's Kitakami? The Teal Mask Pokemon has expansions now? First expansion of the Hidden Treasure Area DLC for Scarlet and Violet. It is followed by the Indigo Disc. In order to begin the main story of the Teal Mask, the player must have reached the start of the treasure hunt in the main story of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. New Pokemon and forms. Huh. Yeah, Pokemon's just jumped the shark and back again, eh? Basculegion, sure, fine. Okay, now the sprites change for some reason. I guess they hadn't gotten around to doing a weird 3D render of them yet, which these are actually so much better looking. I'm sorry to whoever did the renders. Like, you did a great job with the renders. It doesn't work with Pokemon style. I think even Pokemon doesn't work with Pokemon style when they switch to 3D, for the most part. Right. You have a great cat, and then you decide, you know what, the cat needs to stand up. No. And then you have that looks like a sticker. That just looks like a sticker, like a generic. You know what that looks like? That looks like the cut the rope creature that you feed. Yeah. Okay. Crocalore. Just a farmer crocodile, I guess. And now we actually have, look at that, a fire ghost starter. That's, why is that one so cool? And why are these so bad? Well, starters are almost always bad, but they obviously can make some cool designs sometime. Although that, again, it's a little overdone. It's just, yeah. My brain's fried at this point. You're on thin ice, but gotta keep something. Okay, yeah, you? No, thank you. Lechonk, I kind of like. Oinkalone, that name's pushing it, and it doesn't really visually show off why it has that name. Maybe it gives off a smell, though. I don't really like how it looks, but at least these are actually like Pokemon that could be proper Pokemon. A little spider, kind of like. I don't like that thing, whatever it becomes. Oh, is that the first spider that actually has 8 legs? It is. Look at that. First time for everything. You're kind of a cricket, which is neat because the previous cricket was not a cricket, and then they just abandoned it. We already did the teddy bear, and this is just 3 of the same Pokemon. Now this is 4 of the same Pokemon using copy paste, but I actually I did a run in Pokerogue with one of these things, and I really liked its play style, so I'm biased. And it's like a super tank. It's got an explosive population ability. Something about the tandem mouse to mouse hold. The pun gets me. It's stupid, but I actually kind of like it. So it gets to stay. I like a Pokemon that's just a lot of... it's just kind of absurd. It's like, oh, what does your 2 Pokemon evolve into? They evolve into 4 of the same Pokemon, but it doesn't actually do anything. It's just, oh, there's more of them in the same spot. I think that's hilarious. This is actually a really good Pokemon. Like it looks like a dog, but it looks like something else. I don't know why it's a fairy, but I guess they didn't know what to call it either. And it's really neat because it gets like cooked when you hit it with fire, and it doesn't take any damage, but it actually increases its stats. Hey, look, an actual proper tree. Bonus points for that for sure, instead of just a thing with legs. But unfortunately, it doesn't look good. So, but I am, at this point, they actually tried something, so it can stay. Slightly like that. Squawkabilly. I don't get it. Squawkabilly. Oh, it has a bunch of forms. Of course it does. Anything I look up. It's a normal flying type, kind of like a parrot, with lazy eyes. I guess you could call that lazy eyes. Feet shaped in a zygodactyl arrangement. I've got biologists writing these Bulbapedia entries. Very noisy. They use it as a taxi. How big are these things? They are 2 feet tall. That's a weird taxi. Okay, sounds dangerous, but fine. I'm desperate for things. The salt cure ability is really cool, but I do not like what that thing looks like. So, Knucklestack. I think the pun is kind of fun, but it is also a bit too... Well, no, there's a Zapdos and a Moltres. I can't complain about puns. These are just your D&D OCs for your Pokemon campaign. But this middle one, let him keep the salt cure, and then he's a stack of blocks that moves around. That's kind of neat. And Knackley just doesn't quite work for me. Another tadpole, another attempt at a frog, huh? And this one, again, it's not a proper frog, but at least it looks like something, right? At this point, it can stay. I'm a broken man now. Electric Flying's a neat typing, and they look fine. They look fine enough. Again, Mabostiff and Mastiff. Is that what they look like, really? That's kind of... So what was the deal with Gen 9? What did Gen 9 Pokemon even look like? Why aren't they showing them... Is it 2D again? That'd be kind of neat. No, these look like 3D models. Maybe this is what they look like inside the selection screen or something? I don't know what that's about. I guess these are fine enough. They don't really inspire me, but they're not... I don't know. They're so inoffensive, they're offensive, actually. I changed my mind. Those are just dogs. There's too many dogs. We only have 200 slots, and we can't have them all be dogs. Shroodle. I don't know what the obsession with adding normal to everything is. So that looks like an eye. Oh, it is an eye. Okay. It's gonna... So it's a horrible lemur thing, but it's not a lemur, and then it becomes a lemur. I guess bonus points for using an wayyyyy, but on the other hand, I don't like wayyyys. So no, just because I don't like the animal doesn't mean I have to get rid of it. Okay, Bramblegast and Bramblin. Sure. Grass Ghost, a bramble that floats, got some spikes, it's got a bit going for it. Toad School. They just gave up on inventing Pokemon. I guess I've been lucky in Pokerogue. I thought Gen 9 actually was starting to... Gen 9 was 2022? Kind of, man. I'm behind on my Pokemon, obviously. I thought this came out, like, later this year or something. It's not even a... No. Well, no, I don't like how it looks. No. And then Krabby already exists and it looks better. Spice-based Pokemon, kind of a neat idea. Don't really like how it looks. A Dung Beetle, sure. I'm happy for a Dung Beetle. And look, it actually is, I think that's standing. Rabska, so it's a scarab anagram. Yeah, and it's actually holding it with its hind legs. Okay, you know, I'm happy. It like tore a Starmie to pieces and now pushes its eye around. I like it. And then this little duck turns into... So they shove normal onto everything, but then they don't give flying to the emu creature? Ooh. This reminds me... You know, some of the early animes, they had stuff like the Island of the Pink Pokemon. And I always wanted those in the game. Just the sort of like an extra shiny type thing. But this kind of fits that aesthetic of it's a bit out there, but it's not so out there that... Like, if you have one of these with the other Pokemon, it works. But if every Pokemon is starting to look like this, then it'd become a nightmare to look at. Kind of same with Rabska. Yeah, no, this thing can go, because why does it have a hammer? No, thank you. A lot of these are just good Pokemon done again. Like better Pokemon done because they couldn't think of them. Fine, they can stay. Dugtrio is so solid that even a pale imitation is still, literally pale imitation, still better than most of these. No, you're just wearing an apron. Okay, what is the deal with Finizen? What is this? Why is there two of them? Finizen. It evolves into Palafin. While connected to another player in the Union Circle, they can trade in battle and travel through the game's areas and hold picnics together. So it's like multiplayer, but not as good? I think they could manage multiplayer by now. Just straight up normal multiplayer. Okay, but why do they look the same? It evolves into a hero form when it's switched out in battle? It's a hero form. Zero form and hero form. It will always be in zero form outside of battle. Palafin starts battle in its zero form. If it's switched out without fainting, it changes into hero form with its ability 0 to hero and remains in that form until battle ends. The two different forms have different base stats. Hero form has more attack, defense, special attack, and special defense, but the same HP and speed. But they're literally identical otherwise. So basically, your Finizen becomes a pal when you hang out with your pals, and then it's 0 to hero. I like the idea of a Pokemon you switch out and it gets stronger, and I also like the idea of a Pokemon that becomes a pal with your friends, but... Oh, it has a little heart on its chest. That's the difference. I just saw it. Okay. The angle doesn't help. What was that Dr. Zeus story? The snitches or sneeches or whatever it was. So you have your normal Palafin, and then boom, it gets a heart. Is that... It's like it's spot the difference. Yeah, okay, so you hang out with your friend, it gets a little heart. Does Finizen also have 0 to hero? No. And I don't like the way that hero form looks. But again, I wonder how many Pokemon I've missed just by not looking into the details of these Pokemon. Because if they have alternate forms and... Like, the depth in Pokemon's kind of crazy. You have to give them credit there. Okay, this is not a ghost possessing something. That's just a... What, an engine? It's just a straight up... I assume it was constructed to... It's created when a opposing type enters and possessed an unused engine. Okay. And then it turns into a demon car. I kind of like how it looks, but not as a Pokemon. This would be a great central focus for a fan game. Or a Pokemon game, potentially, but it had to be the only one. Cyclizar, You can ride it around in the game, as I understand, I think. Or, no, wasn't that the game before that one? I don't know. Anyways, I don't like how it looks. If it's not a Pokemon you can actually use, and it's just a themed motorbike, that's a different story. But it looks like it's in the list of Pokemon, so no, it's got to go. What is Glimmet? Is that a glowworm? I don't know what that is. It's like a sea anemone, a crinoid, sort of a sea sponge, or a carnivorous demi-sponge. I see. Fine. This thing looks fine. This looks good. I like it. So, well, do I like it? At this point, I can't tell anymore. I like it relative to what else I've seen. Glamora, fine. There's nothing going on here. You know, it's not really... It looks kind of like a... Oh. Okay. Okay, you know what? It's fine. It can stay. That's pretty. I like that. Okay. A flamingo that fights. That's kind of fun. Graveyard and Houndstone. Again, more dogs, but compared to the others, they're fine. Satitan is kind of like Whale Lord, but with legs, but it's fine, I guess. Veluza is actually kind of neat. I like that. I think. It's kind of reminds me back of the old days with the Sharpedo. Is it related to them? No, it's just another Pokemon. Okay. They kind of just make a fish with spikes and call it a day, don't they, most of the time? I think there needs to be a limit to how many fish with spikes you can get. So, as I understand it, Dondozo has a great big tongue he can stick out. He's kind of like a Wishcash. But you can stick a Tatsugiri in his mouth, and then you can have 2 Pokemon out at once, counting as 1 Pokemon, which is kind of neat. I kind of like it, and it's like a cutting board with like a prep board that you serve food on. I don't know what those are called, but it's kind of a neat idea. I like that. And what is a Clodsire exactly? It is a Paldean. Oh, there's more forms. Ooh. Okay, there's 3 more Pokemon I didn't know about and won't be on this list. Is there a list of all the Pokemon that aren't on this list? Because there's so many. And some of them are actually pretty cool. This gives a very bad... Like, this doesn't give a proper impression of how much work they put into the games. Because you look, oh, there's only 10 new Pokemon or whatever it might be. But it's like, no, actually, each of these Pokemon has like 6 forms. And also they can evolve into variants and all sorts of things. Yeah, so there's only a couple Paldeans. But those are pretty neat. So what is... You can breed Pokemon in picnics? What kind of picnics are they going to? The Wiglet, Toadschool, and Poltergeist lines. I missed that, which is meant to be similar to a Sinistea. Where was the Sinistea? I haven't seen a Sinistea. Huh. Convergent Evolution. Okay. I kind of like the idea, kind of. Yeah, I'm a fan of this Clodsire. I like that. Annihilate, I'm a bit more torn on. Compared to these others, he's great. Farigiraf is great, actually. I don't know what's the deal with it exactly. It's like a Girafarig, but backwards again. But how do you get one? It has to know Twin Beam. I see. And how do you get Twin Beam? You have to... How do you get Twin Beam? Level 32. So basically at level 33 you get the evolved form as long as you swap it over. And is it better than the Girafarig? That seems kind of... that's basically it just levels up at level 32, right? I guess like it has to learn Twin Beam. But it's fine. It's a little different, but it's neat. Dunsparce looks the same as Dunsparce. Does it have an extra head? Is that what's going on? This was based on some sort of legendary creature, right? That's what we learned last time. It evolves from a Dunsparce, which has 2 segments, and then this thing has 3 segments, and then it can gain 4, even though it calls them 2 and 3 segment form. When a Dunsparce evolves, it has a 1 in 100 chance of evolving into a 3-segment formed Dunsparce. Oh, I feel bad for people that want to get all the Pokemon, and it's actually easier to get than a Chansey or a Feebas, I think, but still, it's got to be up there. That's kind of fun, sure. But then again, this is 2 Pokemon, not 1. There's so many things like that. King Gambit. Right, that's not even a name of a creature, that's just 2 words. a shogun. If you defeat 3 bishops that hold a leader's crest, how are you supposed to ever get this thing exactly? That's incredibly convoluted. And none of them look like chess pieces. They must be based on shogi pieces, and then they translated it over, and it doesn't make any sense. That's my guess. But chess pieces would have been better, I think, so you don't just have little men that you're sticking in Pokeballs. Because that's weird. Unless they slide around and don't actually move, that would kind of work for me. Okay, now we get to the Paradox Pokemon, which I've been sort of dreading, because I don't know what to do about them. So the idea, as I understand it, is that if you get one of the games, the Paradox Pokemon are... you get these 6, and if you get the other game, you get these 6 Paradox Pokemon. And these ones are Pokemon from the past, which evolved, except I don't know what the word is, because evolution in Pokemon is when it goes from this to this, but they, over time, mutated to be the forms we know today. So this is Phamphini, and this is a Jigglypuff, that's the Amogus, and that's the, whatever that thing was called. That's that Volcanomoth, and that's the Magneton. My brain's been fried, I can't remember any of the names. And then again, this is the Phamphini, and that's the, that owl thing, that's that dude I got rid of without a thought, and that's the Emo Dragon, and that's this moth again. They really like their moth. And then that's Tyranitar. So I don't really like the names of any of these, like Great Tusk, Screamtail, Brute Bonnet, Fluttermane. They don't... This is like super fan gamey at this point. It's not core Pokemon. Like fan games, you allow for the little deviation as neat because it's not Pokemon, it's a little bit different. But when Pokemon itself, it's funny because as a fan, you will say, oh, I really wish they would deviate from the form. They're getting so stuck in it and they're not doing anything. But then when they deviate from the form, it's like, I hate it. It's different and I don't like it. So they can't really win. But I think if you're going to deviate and try out new things, the Alolan form and the alternate forms like that are great ideas. And these are okay. These are okay. I don't know about the naming scheme, but the idea is okay. They all look kind of like, I don't know, hairy, for lack of a better word. I guess that's like magnetic sand that's stuck to it. The blue and red it suggests that magnets were developed from the sandy shocks in the first place. The reason horseshoe magnets exist is because if you have a straight magnet, the magnetization traveling from point to point, from like one end to the other, runs back and forth along the magnet and then eventually demagnetizes the magnet, depending on how the magnet is made. So the invention of the horseshoe magnet was made so that the waves wouldn't do that, as I understand it. I was sick for the day where we learned electric and physics, but as I understand it, that's how it works. So I assume most people actually know that because they weren't sick that day, but just in case. I just learned that recently. So yeah, I guess all of these are fine, to some extent or another. I guess Fluttermane invented jewelry as well. But now these ones get a bit more... Okay, first of all, he can go and he can go. That's easy. Iron Moth is actually cool. Iron Thorns is pretty cool. Iron Bundle doesn't actually contain... None of these contain steel except for Iron Treads, actually. So the fact that they're all called Iron is a little weird. I don't exactly like how this looks, but it is very... Like, this looks like something straight out of Pokemon Uranium. And I kind of got to respect Nintendo for... Well, I guess Game Freak for pushing that and trying something out. We'll give it the old one of these. And then that's just a... This is just the future where Delibird went extinct, so they made little cyborg Delibirds to try to feel better about it. So you're on tenterhooks as well. And then we've got ourselves what looks like an attempt to have more frogs and another failure. Although, I guess they're dragons, but... Just want one frog Pokemon. Come on, please. Just a single. Okay, Gimme Ghoul. A little haunted treasure chest. At this point, I'm getting very thin on the old haunted whatevers. Now Golden Go, as I understand it, if you get a bunch of some sort of special coin and then something happens, you get this Pokemon. And this Pokemon took out my entire team when I was playing Pokerogue, but it looks like a cheese string. And like a stack of haunted coins is kind of cool, and then the stack of haunted coins becomes an even stronger stack of haunted coins is neat. Just by owning a bunch of coins in your inventory, that's kind of a cool idea, but this This looks so bad. This might be the worst looking Pokemon there is. So yeah, no, that one's got to go. This thing is amazing. This looks great. Why? We're saving like an actually good Pokemon for way down here. The only thing about it is most Pokemon, they have this sort of smooth look to them. They all look sort of reptilian. Like if you ran your hand along them, it'd be like going across resin or something. And the Paradox Pokemon and this thing, they look much more fuzzy, furry, real in a way. Like the sort of clumps of moss. And this is kind of like those realistic Pokemon drawings that used to be all the rage, or the Photoshops that people would do. But in a more fantasy, pretty way. So, like, this reminds me of those Korean or Chinese ink screen art type things, whatever they're called. I forget the name at the moment, but yeah, it really reminds me of that. So yeah, but I do like how it looks. So moving on to the final page, it looks like I accidentally colored this at one point, and this thing actually looks kind of cool. So it's not crossed out, and it's only got the single line through it. You know, part of this, like when I got rid of Dragonite and Dratini, compared to what I'm keeping from these generations, I feel like I should bring them back. I should have started from this side and worked my way back down. Maybe. But that way I would have been so biased, I would have just kept everything from Gen 1. Okay, no, these are the motorbikes that you ride. Maybe the first one evolves into these two? That thing, cool. That thing, cool. Getting very Chinese here. I'm here for it. I like that as well. Okay, we've got more Paradox Pokemon. This is a past and this is a future. That's a Salamence and that's the Dancy thing, which I didn't really like in the first place. I don't like how that goes on its hind legs like that. Miraidon's actually kind of cool looking, as long as, because it doesn't look like a motorbike just looking at it, and I had a run with it that was quite fun. Oh, it's walking. I was going to say that they took Silcoon, whatever its name is, Suicune, and made a cool dragon form, but no, they just put legs on it. That's just a Robo-Deer thing compared to the other stuff. Here's the rest of the apples. There's even more apple forms. I still don't know where that tea set went, but it doesn't seem to be a tea set here. You know, compared to what other stuff I'm looking at, it's not even that bad. Fazandipity. Some of these feel a little forced. Like, at least with Zapdos and Articuno, you wouldn't quite get the Spanish connection first glance, but what's going on here? What is going on here? Copper pheasant in Japan, wearing a kimono, meant to be a geisha, except that it's male only. So it could be a kabuki, dressed as a... What's a kabuki? I assume just an actor? Dressed as a woman. It's like it's just a performer, it looks like. A singer. By the story of a boy born from inside a peach who traveled along a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant to fight a band of demons. Or ogres, I guess it says there. Pheasant... Yeah, no. And then Ogerpon, I guess, is the thing that the boy traveled... So this is meant to be the legend right here. You've got the monkey the boy traveled with, you've got whatever that is, and then you've got the Oni that it went to fight. They used up like 4 Pokemon slots to do that. Again, we already have Palkia. So... Actually, this is basically a better Palkia, though, to be fair. But it looks like a Transformer. I don't want a Transformer, I want a Pokemon. No, you know what? You can be on thin ice. It's all relative. Okay, that's a cool Entei. It's like an Aztec Entei almost. I like that. And then Raging Bolt, that kind of works for me. That was the Volcaneron or whatever it was called, which I already didn't like, and that does not help. And that makes that deer look dumb. Terrapagos. Like a turtle made from stone. Ooh. Why is that not its image? It transforms into its stellar form if you terrestrialize it. Wow, that looks so cool. Yeah, there's a lot hidden away when you just see these images. So I don't really like you, but your other form is cool. So I guess you can stay contingent on that. And then what is a Pecharunt? And by the way, if you have like major disagreements with stuff I've done here... Oh, this is the peach the boy was born in, of course. Then yeah, feel free to say, no, you definitely need to keep this Pokemon. But the cost is you have to get rid of a Pokemon, right? Because limit's still 200. So if you disagree with one, feel free to say, no, you definitely need to keep this, but you have to sacrifice someone else. That's my rule. Okay, and I will be back in a moment where I tally up how many I got rid of and see how much is left to do. Okay, Be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. So here's all the numbers. These are the first from the top. This is how many I got rid of moving down, and then they all added up, and then here's the rest. So it looks like I've gotten rid of about 350 Pokemon, so 700, so there's 500 more I need to get rid of, apparently. So clearly I was being far too generous, and I do not need to accept anything that even slightly bothers me. Because there's simply not enough room. Yeah, maybe I'll just go on a slight, on a little bit of a rampage. Just here at the end, and then I will consolidate these for the... You know, this would be easier if I do the rampage from the bottom up. But yeah, and then I'll consolidate them for easier looking at for the next episode, and then I can see them next to each other and get a better idea of what's actually going on. But yeah, it looks like if anything, I'm going to need to be harsh with things that I'm not a fan of, like Persian Golduck. Still, he's got a kind of cool aesthetic to him. The Mankeys are now on thin ice. Again, these guys I've got that sort of affection for that I don't quite get, but the Darkrai split was kind of a neat idea, but Darkrai's not a Pokemon. He's just some sort of weird villain creature. And then what do we got here? We've got, who can I be very quickly harsh to? I was going to say you don't need a Goldeen and a Seaking, but they kind of work, you know, together. Yeah, that one's a hard one to just outright dismiss. You know, I would get rid of one of these two because you don't need both, but compared to those other Pokemon we were looking at, these are so much better that I might just keep them. If we're needing to be harsh, do we get rid of like this Meganium or the Bayleaf? I don't think so, not right now. We're being harsh, but we can be much harsher to the later on ones. This is the problem actually with, can I just reverse the order of the layers all in one fell swoop? Doesn't look like it. Because really, I want to be being brutal to like these later layers where I just start culling. I actually kind of like the Dolphin minus that whole weirdness. The II can go because, yeah, I don't really like how you look. You're growing on me. I like that a lot. Those two can stay. Did we go through this one? Yeah, you can go and you can go. I need to be harsh, it turns out. So things that bother me, you bother me. They're going to go. You just look the same as Mischievous, just slightly different. You look kind of the same as well. You don't really work for me. You I kind of like. You I kind of like. And then you are on very thin ice. You're still on thin ice, but your existence almost keeps you safe in a weird way. Because it actually gives the Mankeys something of a personality. You don't quite do what I want from a Tarantula. You're like a bad fan-made Pokemon. You're not quite a Cricket. And look, I don't have the space for anything that isn't... You can still stay. Yeah, you guys, you're getting the Axe. Eternius, you get another chance. You guys get another chance. You guys are on thin ice. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. You're gone. And you two are kind of neat. Although you aren't quite a Pokemon, right? Like, I really like how that looks, but it's not quite a Pokemon. It's like cooler than a Pokemon in a way. Oh, I didn't talk about this whole row. Okay, well, good thing I'm going back through it. These are really cool looking. I think that is awesome. I really, a Centipede. It's the second sort of, well, I guess it's not fiery, the previous Centipede, but still, Centipedes are cool. Clobopus, sure, weird, but sure. Grappalot, less so. No, wrong color. Doesn't really work. An evil teacup, no. This thing, I don't know what it's meant to be. Is it more ice cream? Is it a hat? What is it? It's a baby wearing a wig or a witch's birthday hat. Hat antenna, oh, like an antenna, I see. And then what are you? Forest witches from European folklore. But why is it colored so weird? I mean, they're pretty colors, but... Now, it isn't like a dude, though. Like, this is weird. This is just straight up weird. It's weird enough that it can stay. You are awesome. You're cool. You're in the thin ice camp. You are kind of cool. I like you. You're kind of... I like the idea of a sea urchin, but you're not the best sea urchin. I like how you look, even though I hate that hangry form looking thing. Yeah, you guys are still kind of cool. Right, I need to be harsh because I didn't get... There's 500 more to go, right? That's what I figured, so... You're not making it to the next round. You guys are on thin ice. You more so than the other, but you can stay. You guys are fine. You're fine. You're fine. Weird, but whatever. They can stay. Because they're in Smash Bros. They get the Smash Bros pass. You could turn into that ghost crocodile that we see later. That kind of works. You are one of the rare Pokemon where I don't really want to see you on your front legs. That doesn't look right at all, because you're meant to be a teddy bear, right? And that looks weird. I think we just get rid of... I don't know. The Smash Bros is calling me back. We can get rid of the middle form at least, and then... Nah, you're just a... We need to be harsh here. You're both gone. You do not... If you were like a Mankey form or something, I guess I could see it. That's not a Pokemon. That's just a lemur. That's a Zaboomafoo. Okay. In our harsh realm, you are gone. You're still kind of cool. I like the idea of a koala Pokemon, but that isn't it. Yeah, you can stay. You can stay just because you're weird. And it feels very Pokemon. I gotta give it credit for that. It's weird. I don't know if I like the design, but it's very Pokemon in some ways. I don't know why exactly, but it is. The jump feels too large, but yeah, Trumbink, you're losing out, and I need space, so you guys are gone. You still kind of have a place in my heart. Same with these guys, despite everything. You know, I was looking at the Horsea, and I don't know, maybe having a hideous one. I'll put you on notice, but you can stay for now. A lobster. There's a better lobster. Sorry, there's a better lobster than you guys. And you look like a dog, but you're meant to be a basilisk child. So, no, I think we're just going straight to Heliolisk only. You guys are fine. You still bother me, but I made you a ghost, so that's better. You don't even look related. Do we need a Bergamite in this world? I think he can stay for now. Now, the moth Pokemon typically don't have 3 stages. So maybe, well, I don't really like how I don't really, yeah. Well, Spewpaw's actually fine, but why do you have like anime eyes? You know what? Your whole line is being ended. You're a Smash Bros thing as well. Yeah, I always thought you were just this weird electric thing, but that's a stun spore you're doing. I get it now. Skiddo and Go-Goat, like Skiddo you don't really need. Go-Goat's fine on its own, but I guess you can keep it for now. I don't know what that is. It's gone. And then, yeah, you're fine. Squid's fine. Right, you're gone. The ant is still cool. Manibus, that's still cool. That's still cool. You're still cool. I like you. You were great. You're on notice. I might just be keeping only the other one. These are, again, this is like Pokemon fan game material. They're a bit too, like Legend of Zelda. These would make Legend of Zelda creature cool. Like these are great designs, but I don't know if they're Pokemon. That's true of a lot of these things, actually. It's not like Pokemon has a lack of talented artists working for them. You're almost too awkward looking, you know? You're going unnoticed. Everything doesn't have to be super perfect looking or anything, but yeah, a step too far there, basically. You kind of grew on me after compared to everything else I saw. It's not actually that it's great, it's just I thought it looked too busy at the time, but that was before I saw the later generations. Same with these guys. Oh wait, they're way too busy, and then oh no, look at what we're dealing with in the future. You could also be part of that crocodile line. We've got Yamask, which is kind of neat. I don't want that. I want this turtle to evolve into something, but I don't like this. And I you know, I have to get rid of 500, so we've got to be tough here. We've got to be tough on these things. You're very Pokemon-y too. Like you could replace Pidgeotto almost, weirdly. The Liepard can go. Yeah, you can go as well. You can go. So this is what the Like, these things here are what the Alter Pokemon, or whatever they were called, the Altermon, should have been. Weird, but not, you know, they're weird, they're not quite like what you'd expect, but they're still Pokemon. They're not some weird, horrible, synthetic-looking thing. Yeah, you're gone. You're just another attempt at Pokemon making a mascot. Yeah, Munchlax, I'm afraid you will have to go to make room for everything. I want a Scorpion, but you are not the Scorpion I want. I don't like their design, but they are very Pokemon, so I would get rid of them. But, you know, you need some Pokemon that you don't like, but are still very clearly Pokemon, I think. Why did I ever keep you? What was wrong with... What was going through my head there? Actually, you two. Oh no, you two are trees. You're just on double thin ice. You two, you're on extra thin ice. These things are going onto thin ice. These have grown on me immensely. This used to be one of my least favorite Pokemon, but after seeing the others, they've grown immensely in my regard. Honchkrow the Redeemer. I don't know. You're gone. You're gone. A skunk is a neat idea. This isn't it. You're gone. You look like a smiley face. I'm afraid you have to go. We're still being harsh. Jirachi. Jirachi's on thin ice. Deoxys is on thin ice. I don't need to put up with these subpar middle Pokemon. I'm better than that. You're on double thin ice. You're on thin ice. You have grown on me since seeing the other horrible options. Kinda same with these. But they're all on thin ice as it is. Got you, got Castiform. I think they're gonna start being a lot better again. I feel like I've been healed slightly. You know, the sort of mermaid bra shell thing, it's not for Pokemon. You're gonna have to go. The good Reggies. Yeah, no, Grumpig, you're not making it. Spinda actually is fine compared to what I've seen. Maractus is a bit too over-designed, but I do like that link there, so just put you on thin ice for now. This is what those Buddhist gods should have been, something like that. You know, relatively, these things have become fine. These would have been one Pokemon in a future generation where they start combining them all together. Which is actually credit to Pokemon. They're not just trying to inflate their numbers by saying, oh yeah, look, we put 400 new Pokemon in this one. Isn't this the best? They secretly put the Pokemon in because people think there's too many Pokemon. That's probably what's going on. Shroomish is fine, I guess. We don't really need him at this point, but he's not bad by any means. Actually, right, this is what I said where this is actually a fighting Pokemon that kind of works. Yeah, I see it. Looking back, I see it. They can stay for now. I don't know what's going on with this thing, but it can stay. And this is another fighting Pokemon that kind of works. A lot of the electric Pokemon are hit or miss. Like the Sphinx, I think, are electric Pokemon, and they're very similar to these in a lot of ways in design. Just take a doggish creature and put spikes on it and call it an electric Pokemon. Marshtomp is like a breath of fresh air compared to what I've seen. These ones, I don't know. There's so many dogs. They don't look specifically hyena-ish. Lombre, never been a fan of. Extra thin ice, and you're starting to wear thin. Over here, Artillery, great, awesome. I like it. Delibird, it feels like it would be in a character. Yeah, it kind of feels like it fits. I love Smeargle's ability. I think it's really cool. Smeargle himself, no. Give his ability to the elephant, because elephants can paint. Yeah, in fact, hang on. Smeargle's ability is so cool, I don't think his brush should be forgotten. So I'm just going to just very gently tear off his tail and give it to the elephant to paint with. There we go. There you go, Fafnir. Now you aren't just the rollout Pokemon. You're also the... That's the thing, Fafnir had a very clear design based around a move, and it worked really well. And Smeargle, very clear design based around a move as well, but it didn't work as well. So giving Fafnir two things is a bit much, maybe, but hey, elephants can paint, and it's the nearest thing that looks like a painter on this page, so I allow for it. Beautiful. Get rid of Smeargle now that we've removed his tail. There we are. harsh but fair, I think. These bugs, which aren't bugs, fine. Lugia looks weirdly angry here when Lugia is very peaceful in the movie. And also very weirdly humanoid here with his wings curved outwards when it should be flying or hovering or something. Because it's meant to be the spirit of like the ocean currents, basically. Like the Gulf Ocean current, or whatever it's called. Mischievous is now on notice. Wobbuffet. Oh, I actually kept Wobbuffet before, huh? Yeah, I'm feeling more favorable to him now. Corsola's fine. Remoraid's fine. A bunch of pretty okay Pokemon. You know, Dragonite and Dratini, I kind of want to bring back at this point, just because of what I've seen. They get like a question mark. All right. Same with Totodile, really. And maybe even for Alligator. They're more like Donkey Kong villains, these guys, but at least they're not what we've seen. I didn't even come into this with the intention of being down on Pokemon. I was actually coming in to say that like the latest generation seemed really cool to me and they had a lot of neat things, but after going through it all and seeing the history of it, my opinion plummeted. I think a lot of the abilities and cool evolutions are cool, and there's a lot of new Pokemon that are still pretty cool. But yeah, there was a lot of disillusionment happening there. And then we already saw these. Okay, well that's that for the first round of editing the Pokemon. I'm going to compile a new list with only the ones I kept, and however many are left from that will be the new set I start with to start narrowing it down to my final 200. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. And yeah, like the lower number, first we get rid of Darkrai, I think that was pretty good. So I think it's working. And Drowsy as well. Drowsy's ones, well, Drowsy and Dewgong and whatnot were ones I would keep at this point, but Grimer even. But they still do have to fit down to 200, so, and I had to get rid of 500 from my remaining 700 or so I do need to be a bit harsher. So yeah, I will leave it there, and hope you're enjoying it. I'm having fun. And yeah, it's a good test on a bunch of equipment stuff and my voice, which I guess is a form of equipment. So it's good. But yeah, take care.